Hello and welcome to the T3 Handicapping YouTube channel. I am Chris from T3 Handicapping and I am here for episode 7 of the Bet Laboratory. This is our results show for the Pick 33 wheel. Let's get into it. First of all, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel for T3 Handicapping, which is largely a handicapping company. That's what we do. We like to handicap races. But this specific series is all about making you as a player a better. Now, that being said, you found the right place for the Bet Laboratory stuff, which is right here on YouTube, but there's lots of other ways that you can get in touch with T3 Handicapping. So, one of the ways you can do so is by going to our website, t3handicapping.weebly.com. You can jump there and get our full race summaries. You can get picks as well on that website, as well as our most up-to-date YouTube videos as well. And then you can also find us on Facebook, T3 Handicapping Horse Racing, as well as Twitter at Handicapping T3. So lots of different ways for you to get involved here with us as you're looking to hopefully increase your winners and make a little bit of money at the track. So again, YouTube here. Make sure that you like and subscribe. We will continue to do this. This is going to be our wrap on our second strategy. We did one for win betting. This one was for pick threes. We'll do one for verticals, and certainly we want to explore lots of other things. So if you have any ideas for any of bet strategies that you might, if you have any strategies that you would like us to go ahead and take a look at, go ahead and comment down below, and that's where we kind of can get some ideas about things that you might have an interest in having us take a look at, and some bets that you might want us to explore, or some strategies you might want us to explore. So don't be afraid to get involved in the conversation there. Go ahead and comment down below. As always, you can like and subscribe. Let's go ahead though, and let's jump into our Bet Laboratory experiment number 2. We've had enough time now to where I think I've reached some conclusions on it, and let's take a look. So this episode is episode 7 of our series. We were doing pick 3, the 33 wheel. I know this is just kind of our results show. We kind of skipped forward from introducing the strategy in episode 6 to now this one, unlike the Winogram where we took 5 episodes to kind of go over the daily progress. But with the holiday weekend, it was just easier to kind of track the results on my own and then bring things forward. So let's take a look and see what we have here on our results chart. So this is just a quick recap of sort of how we went about doing this whole process. So basically what I was doing is I was using our T3 handicapping pick sheets. I did not make any alterations or personal handicapping decisions. The only thing that I did was I went through and I looked for any race where the best fair odds in the race were less than 2-1. So at Belmont Park on 626, the 5-horse had best odds of, essentially somewhere between 9-5 and 2-1. So I used this horse as a key horse, and I did that for each of these. It is a totally mechanical betting process here. So the key horse was the most likely winner in the sequence, and then I would build my pick threes using a 3x3 by the key horse, and then I'd come back and I'd do 3 by the key by 3, and then I would do key by 3 by 3. Thus the 33 wheel strategy. You're keying that horse in all 3 places. Now, one of the things that I also did with this strategy in this go round is I also used a weighting system. So I would weight my most confident ticket at 3 units. For the purposes of this, I used basically I used a $3, $2, and $1. So I used $1 betting units for my experiment. But certainly you could play 50 centers or you could play more than that. It's just that I play a lot of Naira and they have $1 minimum. So that was kind of the easiest common denominator that I could play across all tracks. So the way that I did my confidence was just by summing the best fair odds. I just needed some way to do that without trying to figure out if these strategies have merit. And so I try and limit the amount of handicapping that I do as much as I can, because when I do that, it allows me to see if the strategy is effective or if my picks were just like really good that day. All right, looks like we are maybe having a little bit of technical difficulties here. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can speed things up a little bit. That seems to have helped. All right, so let's take a look and see sort of how this played out in actual practice. So here you can see that I had a number of different tracks, and one of the things you'll notice is I had a lot of tracks that were marginally poor. I had one track that in particular scored extremely well, and then another track that also scored decently, which will sort of skew my final results here in this particular strategy. So, Belmont, Canterbury, Churchill, Gulfstream, and Finger Lakes. I was negative in all of those places. I was obviously very positive at Indiana and positive at Louisiana Downs this afternoon as the final installment. This is being recorded on July the 5th. So here we can take a look over our sample size. Now, this particular sample size is currently being yielded over what looks like a 5-day sample. But on 626, 628, and 629 on each of those days, I was looking at like 4 or 5 tracks. So all in all, I think the total number of race cards that were evaluated was 11. So a little bit bigger sample size. You can see that 626 was a very negative day, minus 228, minus 195 on 628. 629, you can probably guess what track I was playing there. That was that Indiana Grand Day where I really, or sorry, Horseshoe Indy where I really took off. Slightly moderate day on 7-2. And then on July the 5th, the last day today, the experiment finished up $124.20 at Louisiana Downs. So that's kind of our profit day by day. Just like the kind of ironically, like our winogram, you'll notice that big sort of peak and then that drop. I don't know why that keeps happening in the third day of the experiment, but it just so happens to be the way it's working out. So, all in all, it was a profitable strategy. Let's take a look at it by the numbers here. So, what did we find out? Well, this was a bet type. It was the pick 3 that we were looking at, so a horizontal wager. Overall success, we did have 6 of 11 days with winners. So there were, of the, I guess I shouldn't say days, there were 6 out of 11 cards that had some type of winner on them. That is very different from saying that I had 6 days where I was profitable, or 6 tracks where I was profitable. In fact, that's not true. What I found is there were several days where even small victories that I had were not even close to recouping the losses of what I had put in on that particular day. In the end, in this experiment, I wagered $1,222, and I did return $2251.15 for a profitability of $1,029.15. So you're looking at a very good return and an ROI of 1.84 on investment. Now, I think that's actually quite good when you consider that this was done entirely mechanically, that I didn't do any handicapping, but that it yielded such a big return. Now, granted, a lot of that came from a single day, so we have to recognize that that skews the ultimate output. And so I think that's something that moving forward I would really want to be weary of, is that yes, these results again look good. I'm not sure if these results would be sustained over a longer period of time. I was more confident in that in Winogram because of the way that it had built up slowly and steadily. This one was kind of a one-hit wonder. But nevertheless, if the strategy is predisposed to hitting a big one like that, every so often, you can float yourself for a long time. I mean, I thought this strategy was an abject failure after 2 days. And then I hit that one on that third day, so after going through essentially 6 race cards, I felt like this strategy has no merit at all. And then one day pops it. So if it could reproduce this type of outcome, cycle over cycle, you definitely have to say it's worth it. But it is something to be aware of as you're moving forward, is that one day, basically covered all the profit. So that's one of the things to consider. Pick threes, you're going to lose more. So if you have a low tolerance for losing, then probably horizontal strategies, and really for that matter, the vertical exotics are probably not for you, because it's just too hard time after time after time to lose. So that's something to definitely think about. I would definitely want to, if I were going to embrace this strategy as part of my permanent wagering strategy, I would definitely want to play through another couple cycles with kind of funny money before I would really, back anything up with actual dollars to make sure that I'm hitting at least reasonable winners to make it worthwhile. Um, One thing to really consider is like the last strategy that we did, the Winagram. We wagered like $450 to get like 1.48x on investment. So we were in a similar ballpark in terms of ROI, but yet the amount of capital that we had to risk in order to get there was much smaller. So when you're doing this, what made this really expensive was the fact that I was doing $3 doubles, and because I was going three key three, and then I was coming back with another one that was key 3 3, and then a third weight that was 3 3 key. I was spending $27 on my top double. And in some cases, like you can see up on the screen, there were times when things overlapped. So, like today at Louisiana Downs, for example, I had in the third race, I had a horse lose. None of my horses came in that third race. Well, that knocked me out of like six different tickets, some of which were $27. I mean, my really top end wagers were knocked out almost immediately. That was $54 that I was trying to chase the rest of the day. Now I got lucky and I hit later, so I was able to do that. But that is one thing to really consider is the waiting piece of it is definitely not for the small player. Now I hit some big, the one at Indiana Grand was like a $200. There was like a $200 pick three and $100 pick three mixed in to the sequence. You could easily be doing this for 50 cents, a dollar 50, and things are going to be a lot more manageable in terms of overall bankroll. Or you could be flat betting. If you did everything at 50 cents, now your three wheels are 450. That's 1350 each way. The problem is when you hit on those, you're not going to hit as big, and so you're just not going to be able to cover yourself for as long. So you really got to think about, if you're going to be waiting, how comfortable are you with waiting? How comfortable are you putting up large amounts of money into the race? And I think one thing that gets overlooked sometimes too is, are you waiting at an appropriate level so that when you hit that 3 unit wager, does it make up for the other things? And that's really critical. Is like sometimes a 1 2 3 doesn't make sense. Sometimes it has to be a 1 2 and then 4, or 1 2 5, kind of depending on where you play. So that's something to think about. The last thing that I would really encourage you to think about, and again, I created a very strict set of rules because I wanted to create an environment where we were able to really test the strategy and not my handicapping. I don't want this to be oh, T3 handicapping did a really good job, and therefore, any strategy when you pick all the winners is good, and any strategy when you can't pick a winner to save your life is not good. And so one of the things that I would say with this is, pick three payouts are dependent on getting favorites out. And one of the things that I found is, on the 2 days that I was profitable, on any of the other tracks that I was profitable, the one common denominator that always existed was the fact that we were getting rid of heavy favorites, and we were finding horses that were $10 and beyond. So I think as I were looking to utilize this strategy, it very clearly has the ability to produce a profit. But I think rather than trying to key around just the most likely winner, I think I would always also be looking to maybe double key. So key around the most likely winner, but then also key off of a horse that's going to pay at least $10. So a top selection that's going to be in the ballpark of $10. Because when I hit those runners, That's when I hit $200, $100 pick threes. That's when this strategy really thrived. You're not going to survive in this strategy even if you hit it 6 times on, the $6 pick threes with the if you're using a $1 system. So if you hit the 50 cent pick three 6 times because you had it in two overlapping sequences, like I hate to tell you, but even in that situation, if the pick three only pays out like $6, you're going to be chasing. So I think you really do have to, when you're looking at this, not only look to be right, but also look to take stands against favorites. And I know we could say that for anything, but I think if you're doing a win bet strategy, proper weighting will allow you to get away with using more favorites. In this case, you can't. You have to be willing to get around favorites because otherwise you see far too many pick threes where even with a couple of second choices and a third choice, it might only pay out like $10, which is fine, but long term, that's not going to be successful. You're going to have to pop some prices. That's what allowed it to be profitable in this environment, and that's what would allow it to be profitable going forward. So, just some things to consider there. So, overall, I thought there were some ways. Winagram, when I reviewed that one a couple weeks ago, I came out of that saying, this is really how I need to do win betting. It just really fit with my betting personality and was a long term grinding strategy that I felt super confident over time would be effective. This one, I would say, when the situation hits me in the face, when I see a sequence where I love a horse that's going to pay $10 or more, and I love a shorter price. It doesn't have to be a favorite, but when I see a horse that I really like that's going to pay out $10, and I see another horse that I like within that sequence that I think is pretty likely to win, I could definitely see myself using sort of the 33 wheel to key around that longer price that I like and see if I can hit that one, but then also utilize that longer price into that shorter price that I like as well to try and keep costs down. But I just think in terms of a completely mechanical strategy, I think you have to be very, very careful about using this one without taking the time to really handicap the value of the race. So overall, I think it's definitely a good approach and probably a good starting point for you to further refine your own pick three wagering. But I don't know that it's one that I would just use blindly on every race. Just moving forward, you'll run out of money real fast. You'll hit too many short price pick threes that aren't successful, and thus you'll lose money in the long term. So, with that, that concludes our findings on the 33 wheel. Like I said, we've done the winogram for win betting. We've done the 33 wheel now for pick three horizontals. Probably take a look uh, into our uh, into our verticals next. But that's where I really want to reach out to you. So if you have any ideas, any exacta or trifecta or superfecta strategies that you like to use, whether it be certain types of boxing, weighting, keying, whatever you like to do, uh, please feel free to reach out in the comments, reach out to us on Facebook, on Twitter. Um, Drop us an email on the website. It really doesn't matter, but we'd love to get your input and know what should we try next. What would be a strategy you would like for us to explore a little bit deeper to help you become a better bettor. As always, you can head over to our website and find all of our free selections. You will find them in the daily picks section, all totally free of charge. So head over there, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and as always, cash those tickets.